Good morning, everybody. Welcome you all to this tutorial section. Today, we are still considering West Africa in the 19th century. We will be focusing now on the Jihad, Fulani Jihad in the 19th century. We'll look at the rise, the causes of this Jihad and its impact on West Africa. It is important to state that political conditions in the central Sudan in the late 18th century were the critical factor that led to the jihad. A lot of development, especially social, cultural, and religious factors, contributed to the rise of Islamic reforms, which led to the jihad in West Africa during the 19th century. A few of them we're going to highlight in this section. First was Bono had relinquished effective control with outside clients and Gobe. Squares of empire serve only to increase the level of interscene conflicts, intercommunity and social and religious conflicts in the area. In the absence of a stable, universal or regional emporium, the Sudanic interstate system was especially vulnerable to external and internal pressures within the West African region. This breakdown of interstate political order coincided with a remarkable Islamic revival in the central Sudan, and the emergence and convergence of these political factors produced a radical departure from historical pattern of empire building which we have known in our West African history. Unlike the classical Sudanic pattern of foreign conquest or ascendance of a single regional power, just like the Kanem Bono Empire or the Mali Empire, and the Songhai Empire, for instance. The early 19th century witnessed a massive series of civil war that originated within and quickly spread throughout outer states, for instance, in present day Nigeria. So what are these factors? What are these problems that actually led to crisis in the outer land, which necessitated a radical Islamic reform? These internal issues are motivated and legitimized by Islam. They entail far-reaching consequences on the people of the region. One was the overthrow of the Hausa states, the displacement of some of their ruling dynasties to successor states in exile, such as in the case of Daura, Maradi, Gobir, and Abuja. There is also the destruction of Borno and its ancient Saifawa dynasty and the reformation of the state by Al-Kanemi. The establishment of several new states on the southwestern frontier of Borno, Katangu, Adija, Misau, Bauchi, Gombe, and Adamawa, among a few other examples. There is also the conquest of Nupe and Ilorin, and the incorporation of all these along with Hausa states into single political unit. So the jihad that began in 1804 transformed the structure of the interstate system in the central Sudan by its destruction of the old order and the creation of a new multi-ethnic and multi-state empire, which is known as the Sokoto Caliphate. So Islam provided a common need or unifying ideology necessary for the formation and integration of an enduring pluralistic political system, which was brought to bear by the jihad. So let's look at the Fulani jihad, how it started. How did it start? Who were the agents who masterminded or pioneered this reform? By the 18th century, by the late 18th century, conditions in Hausa land and in Gobiro in particular again favored the resurgence of Islamic reform, the need for Islamic reform. There was deterioration in social value, economic crisis, issues, oppression of the poor by the rich, among other political issues, led to the call for Islamic reform that will probably look into these issues in Hausa land. There was popular discontent with misgovernment in terms of the corruption and the oppression in the nominally Muslim Hausa state, which was also widespread across the area. Although these grievances involve overtones of political, economic, and ethnic conflict, they were articulated in religious terms, even though, as I've mentioned, the major reasons for all of these conflicts were both partly economic, political, and social issues. But all of these issues were articulated, were brought to bear. The anger of the people were vented through the religious authorities. Itinerant Muslim scholars started preaching reforms and intensified their evangelism or evangelizing efforts among the population in the midst of this deplorable social, economic, and political condition. So Islam gained became a vehicle for the expression of social and political discontent among the people in Hausa land. These were some of the major channels through the Jihad was implemented in Hausa land, West Africa. As early as 1770, it will be recalled that a call to Jihad was issued by the uncompromising radical scholar Ibril Dan Umaru. Although his call went unheeded, it didn't probably gain much momentum at the time. Although unsuccessful, however, Jubril's premature efforts to bring about reform in Hausa land were not wasted. Some 30 years later, his student, one of his most attentive students, known as Shehu Usman Dan Fodio, elaborating the militant Islam of Al-Magili, his former mentor, launched the most important jihad that shaped West African history in the 19th century. In this Islamic reform movement, which culminated in the jihad in 1804, a prominent role was played by the Fulani. By the late 18th century, after several centuries of migration, the Fulani were widely distributed throughout Hausa land, Hausa state, constituting perhaps 1/6 or 1/5 of the total population in Hausa land. This was as a result of years of migration, from their, from Futa Jalo, from their own land, into, what we have as northern Nigeria. Many had abandoned their original pastoralist habit, and in fact, 4 distinct groups could be distinguished by the 19th century in West Africa. True nomads, Fulani, Bororo, remained a large minority, but others had made a partial or complete transition to sedentary life. The largest Fulani group was the Fulbe, the semi-sedentary pastoralists who practiced both agriculture and stock raising. There is also the third group, the Toro, who became specialists in Islamic learning and religion, education, law, and administration. These were the elite Fulani, who were probably well more versed in Islamic doctrine and education. Many of them served the Hausa ruling class as court officials and professional government servants. Lastly, a small group, Fube, who had abandoned pastoralism altogether, settled among the local peasants and became almost indistinguishable from all of them. Although these 4 groups were differentiated by their vocational specialization, as I've highlighted, but they shared important bond, cultural bond, or ethnic affinity, maintained through intermarriage and other bonding among themselves. The Tuareg also were important agents in the transmission of Islamic learning in northern Nigeria, where the Islamic reforms took place. That learned Fulani and Tuareg shared a common religion and used Arabic as a common tongue. It was these ties of religion and scholarship that the larger ethnic communities of Fulani and Tuareg were linked. And it was the celebrated Shehu Usman and Fodio who galvanized the community of the Fulani to reform and ultimately reshape the political scene in Hausa land. So who was Usman dan Fodio? Usman Dan Fodio was born in 1754 into a family with a long tradition of Islamic learning. After studying with his father and local scholars like Usman bin Duri, Muhammadu Sambo, and Jibrilu, Shehu Usman began his own public ministry in 1774 and 1775 invariably, from his own base at Degel, situated some 60 to 70 miles west of Alkalawa. Degel was relatively isolated from Gobert authority and soon became an active center of Islamic learning. It was here Shehu studied, taught, and wrote most of his treaty, which shaped the Jihad, as I'm going to demonstrate. So from Degel, he traveled abroad to preach in Kebbi, in Zamfara, in Zabama, in Daura, and to it he attracted a large followers, who probably were in tune with his Islamic reforms and preaching, receiving scholars and students from as far as Borno. Thus, the Degel Muslim community grew in large numbers and established contacts, with the local leaders of many other Muslim communities, Al Jamal, through Hausa land and beyond. This scattered Jamal became a nucleus of a reform movement. They became the instrument through which the Jihad would probably be effected in Hausa land. So this transcended traditional political boundaries and later provided leadership as well as the core armies that responded to the Sheikh's call when the clarion call for the Jihad was proclaimed. So let's talk about the Jihad. How did this start in Hausa land? At first, the Sheikh's community enjoyed considerable autonomy within the state of Gobiru. The aged Sultan Bawa, at the time in 1790, was preoccupied with external problems, as Chido Achebe said, turning and turning within the widening gear. All things fall apart. When the center doesn't hold, all things fall apart. Considering the enormity of external problems faced by Sultan Bawa around 1770, and in 1788, the Shehu Danfodio took advantage of the situation to extract several concessions from him, including freedom to preach and to be received by the populace. This was a period where where idolatry, it was considered, according to the Islamic reformer, idolatry and other perversion were so prevalent in the society. So Usman Dan Fodio took advantage of this gap to demand some concession from Sultan Bawa, which included freedom to preach to the people and to be received by the people, a guarantee of equal right for Muslims, tax relief for the peasants, and the release of Muslim prisoners in the state. However, as the Muslim community grew in size and continued to assert itself, Bawa's successor took measures which were designed to reduce the influence of this rising Muslim community in the land. Militarily, preoccupied with Kebbi, Zamfara, and Katsina, the Sultan could ill afford internal menace. He could not manage all of this internal cohesion in the land. His successor, Sultan Natafa, between 1794 to 1802, moved decisively and more powerfully to dissolve the emerging Muslim states, which were becoming a threat to his authority within the state. Soon after his ascension, he revoked the special privileges enjoyed by the Muslim and imposed several restrictions which actually sought to strangulate the Muslim community. He felt that the privileges enjoyed by Usman Dan Fodio and his followers were becoming too intolerable to the state. So preaching except by the Shehu was forbidden. So no other person, no other cleric was allowed to preach in the state except by the Shehu Usman Dan Fodio himself. New conversion to Islam were prohibited. It was clerics were not allowed to convert new people into Islam, and Muslim men were ordered to remove their turbans and women to remove their veil. So these were some of the factors that actually ignited the confrontation or the contestation which broke out and led to the outbreak of the Jihad. Nafata also, Sultan Nafata also forbade Muslims to carry arms, of course, in a way, to defend themselves. These new regulations reverse the status of the immunity granted by the previous Sultan power and impose several severe disability upon the Muslim community. So by limiting its size and activity and checkmating the affairs of the Muslim community, and particularly denying it the privileges of distinctive dress, wearing of turban and by men and veil by women, the new Sultan hoped to reassert his control over the Muslim community and to reintegrate it into the state, which the Muslim felt it was an idolatrous, it was a perverse political, social and religious system. However, the implacable hostility of Nafata's son and successor Yunfa 1802 to 1808 further alienated the Muslim and ultimately provoked their rebellion. So it was this rebellion that probably led to the outbreak of this jihad. First, Sultan Yunfa attempted to murder the Shehu, allegedly attempted to murder the Shehu in 1803, according to account. Failing in this attempt, his army, the army of the Shehu attacked the army of the Sultan attacked the Muslim settlement of the Shehu's disciple Abdul Salami at Gimbana and took many of them captives. Also, however, was that the Shehu's Danfodio intercepted the Gobia column and forced the release of some of the Muslims. So in response to attempt by the Sultan against the Muslim community, the Shehus entourage had intercepted the entourage of the Sultan and invaded a prison and got Muslims prisoners released. This direct attack on the Muslim and their resolute resistance led to a major outbreak of resistance among in the state. Yunfa threatened to retaliate and the Muslims sought refuge in flight. So they flee away. So in February 1804, they began the historic emigration, which is known as Ijira, emigration from Degel to Dugu to Gudu, which signaled their irrevocable withdrawal of allegiance from Gobiru, from the Sultan. So in their new secure local environment, the community declared the Shehu Amira al-Mumini, which is the commander of the faithful, and they prepared. This was a threat to the Sultan, but to them it was a mobilization and preparation for war. So the crisis had passed the point at this stage of a peaceful resolution. So since the confrontation had gone to crescendo, so it had gone to a level where there was no room for resolution. Reform had given way to revolt, and the reformer became warriors in the service. These were some of the major. So several related factors appear to have been of crucial significance in contributing towards the outbreak of the jihad. First was the relative weakness and decline of Gobiru. Since the mid-18th century, as I noted at the beginning, Gobiru had been at war almost constantly, especially with Zamfara and Katsina. And as I quoted Chinua Achebe, for instance, turning and turning within the Wagnigere, anarchy is loose upon all men. When the center does not hold, things fall apart. So the inability of the Sultan, various Sultan, to hold their entity, their kingdom together, actually led to gave the Muslim community the opportunity to galvanize support from their followers and to probably launch this decisive. So since with the outbreak of this conflict, internal conflict, Bimin Zamfara had been sacked, but the Zamfarawa remained in rebellion. Katsina also continued in raid, continued to raid Gobiru territory aggressively into the early 19th century. So with this, the Sultan, just as in the case of Oyo Empire, was incapable of controlling his internal affairs, much less of checkmating the external aggression against his kingdom. To these external problems was added the threat to global security, offered, by the growing Muslim reform movement. So the Shehus base at Degel may have seemed threatening, to the Sultan, and his itinerant preaching in Kebbi and Zamfara, both of which resisted the Gobios imperium, must have appeared treasonous. So in addition, Gobiru suffered from a lack of continuity and stability in leadership, as we have noted within a space of 50 years or less. So we have had over three sultan who succeeded one another within a short period of time. So this leadership gap actually paved way, gave impetus to the Fulani reformers to launch attack against. So Sultan Bawa, for instance, died in 1790, and his brother and successor Yakubu was killed in 1794 in a battle with Katsina. Yakubu's brother Nunafata, to justify what I've said, ruled only about 7 years and was succeeded by his son Yunfa in 1802. So Yunfa also faced formidable internal and external problems. All of this, so just like in case of Oyo, when the Alafin could not effectively govern the space or hold the entity together, several elements took advantage of the weakness of the gap. So Yunfa faced formidable internal and external problems, and as the new Sultan, he had little time to consolidate his position and may have even encountered opposition from rival claimant to the throne, and this probably gave impetus to the radical Fulani jihadists. Moreover, the state itself was insecure. Kebbi and Zamfara remained in revolt, and in the first year of his reign, Katsina had made a major incursion into southern Gobiru. So the entire Hausa state was totally in disarray. So this probably gave the radical jihadists the opportunity to probably weaken the power of the state in attempting to suppress forcibly the subversive activities of the Shehu Muslim community. It provoked internal war in consequence. So the second important factor that favored the occurrence of the jihad was the strategic advantage of isolation enjoyed by the dispersed Muslim community. As I've mentioned, that they took an hijra from Degel to Gudu, as a way to prepare. So by 1804, the Shehu had been active for about 30 years and had attracted a considerable local following at Degel and throughout Gobiru. So he had also established contact with prominent Muslim leaders in other Hausa states and in western marches of Borno. So when the jihad was proclaimed, these scattered followers, Jamal, became the focal point of revolt used by the Shehus, Madam Fodio. They proclaimed an immediate source of manpower. They provided an immediate source of manpower, and military forces, and their leaders became regional commanders, in various areas where the jihad was introduced. The dispersion of these communities in remote areas, far from major centers of government, gave the rebels the time, the autonomy, the security necessary to organize, and prepare for war. Also, is that the Muslim enjoyed a decided psychological advantage. When they took the hijra, the emigration, from Degel to Gudu, so they were more psychologically organized to conduct a very, very decisive and very, very strategic attack against the Hausa state. So in the late 18th century, the Muslim literary tradition in the Sudan experienced a remarkable renaissance. I've mentioned also there were numerous treatises which was written, books, poems, and propaganda tracts, were deployed, to show the decadence, the corruption of the, aristocracy, aristocratic system in Hausa land. And this actually called for the need to revive and to reform the political and social climate in the in Hausa land. Also, the increasing militancy of these works, produced by Hausa, by Fulani, clerics, and the activism of local preachers increased popular awareness of social, grievances, and offered the means to alleviate them through the jihad. So people saw in the jihad an opportunity, to correct some of the, ills in the society. So this, effort, helped to shape the jihad. Fourth is that, another important is, ethnic tension contributed to the outbreak of the civil war, the civil violence, in the land. Although the jihad was not exclusively an ethnic, war between Hausa and Fulani, but ethnic differences, doubtless, intensified the conflict, between the Fulani clerics were the principal agents of the Islamic revival. So it was rare to see Hausa, clerics, at the beginning, playing one pivotal role in, the radical reform. So this probably, probably would justify, show some ethnic connotation in the, outbreak of the jihad. They represented an elite, the Fulani represented an elite, distinguished by its education, religion, religious devotion, administrative skills, and sedentary life, as we have highlighted at the beginning, of this discussion. So the interests of these Fulani elite were fundamentally different from those of the rural agricultural, Hausa population. Those who led this jihad had their own, specific outline or objective, which was different to, those of the other, Fulani, groups, which were categorized at the beginning. The nomadic Fulani, for instance, had no little in common with the Hausa peasantry, and indeed, no conflict over land, no usage may have been very common. Also, this, also was another major, issue. But ethnic affinities, reinforce other socioeconomic divisions in the jihad itself, and, all the major regional commanders except Yakubu of Bauchi, all of them were, predominantly Muslim. So this goes to show the, the role ethnicity also played in the outbreak. Consequently, the consolidation of the Sokoto Caliphate, entailed the consolidation of Fulani rule, in the conquered territories. So it shows that, the jihad was highly political. It was ethnic, and also political. It was ethnic in the sense that it was orchestrated, it was organized, masterminded by Fulani elite, and, the establishment of the caliphate systems, and, the leadership, that emanated from, that development, show that, who were predominantly Fulani, showed that, it was political and ethnic based. Finally, the jihad, at least in its early stage, appealed to all dissatisfied elements of the population, and therefore attracted support from such, diverse groups as Islamic scholars, certain Fulanis, Tuaregs, and sedentary Hausa groups, including slaves, were also, mobilized, in the course of the jihad. Although the leadership of the jihad was predominantly Fulani, its supporters represented a cross section of local society. Such massive support was a prerequisite, for the success of the jihad in Hausa land. So in our next session, we'll be looking at the Christian missionary activities in West Africa. Thank you.